Pet Simulator X released on July 29th of 2021, and in the beginning they updated pretty much every week on Sunday. From August 2021 to October 2021, they pretty much never reached 100,000 players. They did a few times during updates, but most of the time it was around 50,000. Then they spiked in popularity and never went under 100,000 for months, all the way until April of 2022. Then they just didn't update the game for a few months for some reason. It kind of died, went down to as low as 10 to 20,000 players. Then they had an update, didn't update the game for another few months, and October of 2022 is really when the game came back, started being alive again. Eventually, around December of 2022, they were back up to 100,000 players. Everything was going pretty great, but over the past 2 months, the game has been noticeably losing players. So if you remember looking at the player count back in March of this year, I remember it usually being over 100,000 during normal times of the day, and they've been doing weekly updates, so it's been keeping the player count pretty active, but every update has been seeing less and less players. Before we get deeper in the video, do you want a free huge? Just like the video, subscribe, and comment your Roblox username. Here is last video's winner, they get a huge rock. So when I first started playing Pet Simulator X again, which was around 2 months ago when the game started dying, that was the daycare update. The daycare was completely new, and they still got at most like 800,000 players on update day, so everything was still pretty alive. They were doing pretty great. During the normal day, they usually had around 100,000 players, sometimes a little bit more, but every update, less and less people have been playing the game. Right now, if we go to Pet Simulator X, they only have 51k players on a weekday. It is not night. At the time I'm recording this is usually around the time most people are on Roblox on weekdays. Last week at the same time, this day, there were 55k players. The week before that, at the same time, 57k players, and the week before that, 72k players. So even if we keep going back from that, it starts to get around 100,000. Basically, within the past month, the players on during weekdays has basically halved, and they're only getting around 600,000 players during the update time, or at least that's what the Roblox page said around that time. Of course, everyone's usually on the update to claim the free hype gift, but even though that's a little bit more consistent, it still has been going down over time. And right now, Pet Simulator X is just dying, but even though it's only been decreasing for a little over the past 2 months straight, I think it could possibly decrease a lot more, because recently, Pet Simulator X announced they're gonna start doing bi-weekly updates, so that's basically an update every other week, because for the past 7 months, they've been doing weekly updates, which basically made the game popular again, because they went from only 20,000 players for the longest time and started getting over 100,000 all the time, where they basically said that a lot of developers are kind of tired. I don't really get the part where they said community feedback has been great, but some feel overwhelmed with the amount of content. I'm pretty sure the reason not many people are playing right now is because there is not enough content. Like, there's just only the Lucky Block world with 1 egg, and there's not even anything to do here besides mindlessly click Lucky Blocks for like 8 hours straight, then you'll get all the upgrades, and that's kinda all you can do here. Like, I get it's a collector simulator game, but usually there are other aspects to make it more interesting. Like, at least with pinatas and Lucky Blocks previously, you'd get eggs from them. I mean, you get 8 eggs every now and then, but you need to open a lot of Lucky Blocks for that to happen, so it is not as exciting. But pretty much everyone I know that plays Pet Simulator X hasn't really been grinding this update too much, because it's just, it gets boring after the first couple hours of opening Lucky Blocks. Like, you click them for a couple hours, and then you realize how expensive everything is, and there's just like not that much to do. Like, I don't even have it maxed out yet, and I've grinded for maybe 8 hours in total. But here's some possible reasons why I think Pet Simulator X may be dying. The first is pay to win. So the new areas keep getting harder and harder. Like, I have literally 11 Titanics. If I put all Titanics and all Super Teamwork pets on the stuff in the last area of Kawaii World, I don't even break stuff that fast. Like, the amount of damage in New Worlds compared to the amount of damage the best pets do in those worlds isn't really scaling that much. So as new worlds are added, it gets harder and harder for normal players to reach the end. Unless if you spend Robux or something, it's gonna take a really long time and be super hard. But not only that, with the addition of Titanics, they basically added a whole new pet tier that is completely paid, except for the Titanic Jolly Cat, but literally everything here is either a $250 plushie or an insanely rare thing from the exclusive egg, which which costs Robux. And pretty much all other communities in Roblox clown on Pet Simulator X for being so pay to win, but the majority of players in Pet Simulator X are free to play, because that's just how Roblox is. Like, a majority of people don't spend money on Roblox. Like, I've seen a lot of comments on my videos and people sending like event pets in my mailbox saying that they're quitting Pet Simulator X. So I mean, if you don't put a lot of time into trading or spend Robux, you're most likely not gonna get a huge, maybe you'll get like a couple, but it is pretty hard to play the game as a free-to-play player unless you have a really large amount of time to trade all day. But the main reason I'm making this video, not only are they going down in players, but because of the bi-weekly updates, now there's gonna be a whole nother week before we get new content in the game. Now, while that means in the new updates they're probably gonna be able to add a little bit more and make everything better, you're gonna get half the spikes in players because of hype gifts, and instead of going up in players every week for the first week, they're just gonna go down in players until the next update. So I'd say Pet Simulator X could go as low as like 40,000 players, maybe less. Well, I mean, it's like 50,000 during the day, so at night maybe it could be as low as like 20-something thousand or 30-something thousand, especially in another week when there's still no update out. The next update's in literally like a week and 2 days. But that's just my opinion. I mean, it's probably right because that is how games work on Roblox. But right now there are about 1,000 people in the Pro Plaza and almost 8,000 people in normal trading plazas, which brings us to a total of almost 20% of players being in the trade plaza. And I remember 2 months ago I did the math and about 30% of players were in the trading plaza, so for some reason it looks like the amount of people trading has decreased a bit. It's not like they added, well, they did add a new Lucky Block world, but that was a few days ago, so anyone grinding it a whole bunch probably already has stuff. There's always normally a new world, so I'm just wondering like why the amount of people in the trading plaza has declined quite a bit. That's just something I thought was kind of interesting I'd throw out there. Another thing you guys might find interesting is the amount of new visits is going down by quite a bit. So if you look at February 2023 right here, they were getting around 10 to 15 million new visitors a day, and within the past month, well, even at the beginning of this month, they were doing pretty decent, but now they're only getting around 6 million new visitors a day. And keep in mind, this whole time, ever since the big mascot came out, a lot of these visits aren't actually real new visits, it's just people farming for the huge big mascot. So the amount of new players coming to the game is actually lower than this. Even the amount of dislikes is slowly going up compared to likes, and likes are going down, so even more people are starting to dislike the game. And even in the past 3 months, the total like percent went from almost 92.5% all the way down to, well, maybe in another month it will be 91%. So many people voted on the game, it isn't changing that much, but that's actually a whole bunch of dislikes compared to likes if you think about it, because of how many people have voted on the game. So we need an actual good update, because right now the only updates really are new worlds that you can't unlock unless if you spend a whole bunch of money on the game to get huges, or new exclusive eggs that you have to spend Robux on. And new Titanics come out pretty much every other week that are literally hundreds of dollars and people actually buy them. Another reason the game may be dying is because they're adding a lot more just random things on the pets. So in the beginning of the game, if you remember, there were no shinies. They were just normal, golden, and rainbow pets. So 3 different types of pets. But now they're kind of adding a whole bunch of tags on the pets. Like, sometimes it can get pretty confusing, especially if you're a new player. So there's a rainbow, shiny, but then they added evolved. So there's a rainbow, shiny, signed adds a tag to it, then evolved. So now there are 4 different tags you can have on a pet at once, compared to like just 1 in the beginning. In my opinion, evolved pets are not really worth it. I mean, the evolved huge rock is going for about 70 billion right now, and you have to use 5 rocks to make it like that. 1 rock is going for 29 billion, so it is not worth it at all if you're trying to profit. I mean, if you have a whole bunch of huge pets, it could be okay for doing more damage, but that doesn't really matter for the power leaderboard, because I'm pretty sure it's better to have 5 huges than to have 1 evolved huge if you want to be on the power leaderboard. Because evolved huges, I did the math and it only does like 1.8 times a normal huge's damage, so you're not only losing a bit of power, but you're losing value, and it's just not really worth it. Like, I wonder how Pet Simulator X is gonna be in a few years, if they're gonna add even more machines and even more weird things on pets, and you just have like a whole list of tags once you hover over it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I quit Pet Simulator X for a few years, came back, and then I got a huge Chroma Shiny Rainbow Evolved Epic Colossal Giant Godly Large Ascended Rock version 2. But you may disagree, that's just how I feel about the Evolve machine. Anyways, Pet Sim X could start growing again soon, as it has been dying for a couple months now, if they actually do good updates that people want to play. So hopefully they take the 2 weeks that this update is taking and all the future 2 weeks, test the update a bit more, add a bit more content, and make sure it's an update people will enjoy playing. But we'll see where it goes, so make sure to subscribe with the notifications on, like the video, or my Discord server linked in the description, do everything else linked in the description. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.